8:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The hum stops. Not the obvious hum. Not the television or the microwave or the laptop charger plugging away in the corner. The deeper hum. The one nobody hears until it vanishes. The refrigerator's compressor. The HVAC system cycling air through hidden ducts. The electrical current vibrating through walls at 60 hertz. That omnipresent mechanical purr that has soundtracked every moment of modern life since birth. It stops. For 3 seconds nobody notices. The lights are still on. Phones still glow. The television still flickers with its evening programming. Then the screen pixelates. Freezes mid-sentence. The newscaster's mouth hangs open in a digitized grimace. Then everything dies. The darkness arrives with surgical precision. No flicker. No warning fade. One moment, light. The next, absolute black. The kind of black that doesn't exist in cities. The kind that human eyes haven't evolved to process. Outside, street lights extinguish in synchronized waves. Traffic signals blink out. The ambient glow that turns night into perpetual twilight vanishes as if someone drew a curtain across the sky. In apartments across the eastern seaboard, people freeze. Hands hover over dead remote controls. Fingers tap uselessly at phone screens that won't wake. The silence presses against eardrums like deep water. Someone laughs nervously in a neighboring unit. The sound carries through walls with unnatural clarity, now that the white noise of civilization has ceased. This is the moment, the hinge between the world that was and the world that will be. Nobody knows it yet. They think this is temporary, a blown transformer, a rolling blackout to manage summer heat loads. They wait for the hum to return. It doesn't. As darkness swallows the continent, the first thing people notice is not what they've lost. It's what they suddenly hear. The dog 3 houses down, barking without the usual acoustic dampening of air conditioners and ceiling fans. The wind moving through trees with a clarity reserved for camping trips. Their own breathing, suddenly loud in the absence of electronic static. A car alarm 6 blocks away, its panicked shriek now the dominant sound in the urban soundscape. The second thing they notice is the sky. Those near windows see it first. Stars, not the handful visible through light pollution on clear nights, thousands of them. The Milky Way unfurls across the darkness like spilled sugar. People stare upward with a mixture of wonder and creeping dread. The beauty feels wrong, apocalyptic. They've read about this in articles about remote wilderness. Now the wilderness has come to the suburbs. The third thing they notice is the heat. Within 20 minutes, the temperature inside buildings begins its slow climb. August air, thick and motionless, settles into living rooms and bedrooms. Sweat beads on foreheads. People open windows they haven't touched in years. Sticky frames resist. Paint cracks. Outside air flows in, carrying unfamiliar smells. Asphalt and vegetation and something faintly industrial that HVAC systems normally filter away. In high-rises, the realization comes faster. Elevators are frozen between floors. Exit signs glow dimly on battery power that will last 6 hours if they're lucky. People in apartments above the 10th floor understand with sudden clarity that stairs are now their only option. The elderly calculate whether they have enough water upstairs. The answer is no. Cell phones still work, for now. Batteries hold charges, but the network strains under impossible load. Everyone tries to call at once. Circuits jam. text messages queue and fail. A few calls connect, voices crackling across degrading infrastructure. Are you okay? What's happening? Is it just us? The questions repeat in endless variation. Nobody has answers. Social media becomes a fractured mirror. The last posts before the blackout cascade through feeds. Then, nothing new. Refresh buttons spin uselessly. Some people check news websites, but the pages won't load. Others try streaming services, forgetting for crucial seconds that the internet requires electricity at every node. Router lights are dark. Modems sit silent. The digital world has collapsed into isolated pockets of battery-powered desperation. The fourth thing people notice is their neighbors. Doors open. Flashlight beams cut through hallways and across lawns. Voices call out hesitant questions. You got power? Anyone know what happened? The social contract resurfaces quickly. In disasters, humans cluster. It's evolutionary. Safety in numbers. Information sharing. The lone wolves who normally avoid eye contact now gather on sidewalks and in building lobbies, comparing notes and theories. The theories multiply like bacteria. Solar flare, cyberattack, terrorist NP, nuclear strike, equipment failure, government shutdown. Each person selects the narrative that matches their worldview. Preppers nod knowingly. Skeptics insist it's temporary. Optimists predict power by morning. None of them are completely wrong. None are completely right. Emergency services collapse within the first hour. 911 systems overload instantly. Operators can barely hear callers over the deluge of incoming lines. Most calls report the same thing: darkness. A few report real emergencies. Heart attacks, falls in the dark, diabetics realizing their insulin needs refrigeration. These calls get prioritized, but response times triple. Fire trucks and ambulances navigate streets where traffic lights are dead and intersections have become free-for-all negotiations. Police departments activate emergency protocols designed for hurricanes and terrorist attacks. Officers report to stations. Shift changes suspend. All hands on deck, but the protocols assume temporary disruption. Backup generators with fuel for 72 hours. Radio systems that function, a grid that will restore. When the situation board updates, it tells a different story. Blackout confirmed across 18 states. No restoration timeline. Cause unknown. The word unknown does more damage than any confirmed attack. Uncertainty breeds fear faster than knowledge. Officers patrol neighborhoods, but they're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Their presence provides symbolic reassurance. The reality is thinner. If things deteriorate, law enforcement will become triage. They'll protect critical infrastructure and withdraw from residential areas. Citizens will be on their own. Gas stations discover the problem 90 minutes in. Their underground tanks hold thousands of gallons, but the pumps need electricity. Generators kick on at some locations, but fuel lines form immediately. Cars queue for blocks. Tempers flare. Credit card readers don't work. Cash only. Those without cash leave empty. Those with cash fill every container they own. Jerry cans. Milk jugs. Tupperware. Within 3 hours, stations with generators run dry. The rest sit useless monuments to dependency. Grocery stores face similar math. Automatic doors won't open. Card readers are dead. Registers can't calculate tax. Some managers let people in with flashlights, doing mental arithmetic and accepting cash. Others lock the doors, unwilling to risk chaos. Both choices spark anger. Outside, crowds debate whether locked doors constitute hoarding. Inside, refrigeration units warm silently. Milk, meat, frozen goods all on a countdown measured in hours. Hospitals switch to backup power smoothly. Generators roar to life within seconds. Diesel engines purr. Critical systems maintain function. But the fuel tanks hold enough for 48 hours at normal load. With the blackout indefinite, administrators start calculating. What gets power? Life support, certainly. Surgical suites, intensive care. Everything else enters gray territory. Elevators shut down. Air conditioning reduces to minimal. Elective procedures cancel. The hospital becomes a fortress of limited resources preparing for siege. Pharmacies close. Their inventory requires climate control and electronic records. Without power, they can't verify prescriptions or access patient histories. People with urgent medication needs, insulin, heart medications, dialysis supplies face immediate crisis. Some pharmacists bend rules, dispensing emergency supplies by hand and flashlight. Others follow protocol and turn people away. Both groups know the same truth. If this lasts a week, people will die from medication shortages before they die from hunger. Water systems operate on electric pumps. Municipal supplies have some redundancy, but not much. Pressure drops slowly as reserves deplete. By midnight, taps run weaker. Some neighborhoods lose pressure entirely. Toilets flush once, using the tank reserve, then sit empty. Showers dribble and stop. The invisible infrastructure that delivers clean water and removes waste, that most fundamental pillar of civilization, begins its silent collapse. People fill bathtubs while they still can. The advice spreads neighbor to neighbor. Fill everything now. Sinks run into pots and bowls. Washing machines become storage tanks. Those who act quickly secure 50 or 60 gallons. Those who hesitate get nothing. The water stops flowing at 12:47 a.m. in the western suburbs. Downtown holds pressure until 1:30. Then the taps cough air and go dry. By 2 a.m., the first fights break out. A convenience store owner with a generator refuses to sell water above cost. Someone accuses him of price gouging. Voices escalate. Shoving starts. Police arrive and restore calm, but they don't arrest anyone. They can't. The jail has no power. Booking systems are down. They issue warnings and leave. Everyone watches them go. The lesson registers silently. Enforcement has limits now. Inside homes, people raid pantries by flashlight and candle glow. They inventory what they have. 3 cans of soup, half a box of crackers, peanut butter, rice that needs cooking, pasta that needs boiling water. The math is simple and terrifying. 2 people can stretch this maybe 4 days. A family of 4 gets 2. After that, they'll need to find more. But from where? The stores are closed or stripped. Restaurants are dark. The supply chain has stopped moving. The cold reality of just-in-time logistics reveals itself. Cities hold approximately 3 days of food at any given moment. The flow never stops because it never needs to. Trucks arrive daily. Warehouses replenish. Shelves stay full. But trucks need fuel. Warehouses need power. Distribution centers need computers. Remove electricity and the entire system seizes like an engine without oil. Some people have generators. The lucky few with foresight and money. Their houses glow like beacons in the darkness. Neighbors notice. Some knock politely, asking to charge phones or store insulin. Others watch from across the street with harder eyes. Resentment builds quietly. Why do they have power when nobody else does? The generators roar through the night, advertising inequality and stirring envy. Children wake confused. They stumble into dark hallways, calling for parents. The darkness is total. Night lights are dead. The ambient glow from kitchen appliances and smoke detectors gone. Some kids cry. Others think it's an adventure. Parents lie and say everything's fine. They promise the power will return soon. They don't believe it themselves anymore. The elderly face different calculations. Those on oxygen machines switch to tanks with 8 hours of supply. Those with electric wheelchairs become immobile. Those with medical alert systems find the buttons useless. Independence evaporates. They become dependent on neighbors and relatives who may or may not come. Some will die alone in dark apartments, undiscovered for days because nobody checks. By 3 a.m., car radios become the primary information source. People sit in driveways burning gasoline to hear news. AM stations still broadcast, powered by backup systems designed for nuclear war. The reports are fragmentary and contradictory. Blackout confirmed across the eastern grid. Cause still under investigation. No restoration estimate available. Officials urge calm. They promise updates. The promises sound hollow. Some stations lose power too. Their broadcasts cut mid-sentence. Others continue with increasingly frantic updates. Rumors spread that the western grid is down now too. Then the central grid. Someone reports seeing military convoys heading toward major cities. Someone else claims it's a coordinated attack. The radio becomes a rumor mill, but people listen anyway. Information, even bad information, beats silence. The psychological shift happens in waves. First comes denial. This can't be happening. Not here. Not now. Then anger. Why wasn't there warning? Where's the government? Who's responsible? Then bargaining. If I conserve my phone battery, if I ration my food, if I stay calm, then depression. This is real. This isn't ending. We're not prepared. Some people never reach acceptance. They stay frozen in earlier stages, waiting for rescue that isn't coming. Temperature becomes the silent killer. Inside buildings, heat accumulates like water behind a dam. By 4 a.m., indoor temperatures match outdoor. 88 degrees with 90% humidity. Sleep becomes impossible. People lie on top of sheets, sweating and restless. Infants cry from heat stress. The elderly struggle to breathe. Fans don't work. Air conditioning is a memory. Opening windows helps minimally. The outside air is nearly as hot and brings mosquitoes. In winter, the opposite problem would already be fatal. Furnaces need electricity, even when burning gas. Thermostats can't signal. Blowers can't circulate. The cold would creep through walls and floors, dropping indoor temperatures toward freezing within hours. Pipes would burst. Hypothermia would claim the vulnerable by dawn. August's blackout is uncomfortable. January's would be lethal. The darkness changes human behavior in subtle ways. Without electric light, people become diurnal again. Circadian rhythms reassert themselves. Eyes adjust poorly to pure darkness. Movement becomes cautious. People shuffle and feel along walls. Trip hazards multiply. Emergency rooms see a spike in falls and lacerations, broken bones, sprained ankles. Minor injuries that would be trivial with light become serious without. Candles proliferate, and with them, fires. Someone knocks over a taper reaching for water. Curtains ignite. The family escapes, but the house burns. Fire trucks respond, but hydrant pressure is gone. They pump from tanks that empty quickly. The house burns to the foundation. Neighboring homes catch. By dawn, 3 blocks smolder. The fires are visible for miles. Orange glows against the black horizon. Animals sense the disruption. Dogs bark endlessly. Cats hide. Urban wildlife emerges emboldened by darkness. Raccoons raid garbage cans in broad moonlight. Rats surface from sewers, driven up by rising temperatures and standing water. Coyotes venture into suburbs. The thin boundary between human space and wild space dissolves. Nature doesn't recognize the blackout. It simply moves into the vacuum. At 5:13 a.m., the first hint of dawn appears. The eastern sky lightens from black to deep blue. People emerge from houses to see the damage. The neighborhood looks different, vulnerable. Houses that glowed with warmth and security now sit dark and exposed. Cars clutter intersections. Garbage spills from cans. The veneer of order has thinned overnight. Some people prepare to go to work. Habit overrides logic. They shower in cold water, if any remains. They dress in business clothes. Then they remember. No traffic lights. No computers. No card readers. No clients. The entire economic system runs on electricity. Without it, commerce stops. They undress and sit in dark living rooms, purposeless. Others make plans. They'll find water first, then food, then figure out what comes next. Priorities crystallize. Survival first, comfort later. They gather in small groups on sidewalks as the sun rises, sharing information, comparing resources, building alliances. The social fabric begins rewiring itself around new realities. A few people leave. They load cars with whatever they can carry and drive away from cities, toward family and rural areas, toward perceived safety. The highways clog quickly. Without traffic lights, merges become negotiations. Accidents multiply. Abandoned cars litter shoulders. Some vehicles run out of fuel and sit where they stop. The occupants begin walking. In emergency operations centers, officials face cascading failures. Communication networks are degrading. Cell towers run on batteries lasting 12 to 48 hours. As they die, coverage shrinks. Landlines still work in some areas, but most homes no longer have them. The government loses its ability to speak to citizens. Announcements go unheard. Warnings go unheeded. The population becomes atomized and unreachable. Military bases activate continuity of operations plans. They run on isolated microgrids with fuel reserves measured in weeks. Soldiers guard perimeters. Equipment stays operational, but deployment options narrow. Vehicles need fuel. Aircraft need support systems. Drones need satellite uplinks. Even the military discovers its dependence on civilian infrastructure. They can maintain themselves. They can't maintain the nation. At 6:42 a.m., 17 hours after the blackout began, the sun fully rises. People see clearly for the first time. Their neighbors look tired, frightened. The streets look apocalyptic. Traffic lights dangle uselessly. Store windows are dark. Nothing moves except people on foot and occasional cars conserving fuel. The first night has ended, but the certainty that accompanied sunset, the certainty that morning would bring restoration, has died. The power isn't coming back soon. Maybe not for days. Maybe not for weeks. The information vacuum breeds worst-case thinking. If the grid can die this completely, this quickly, what else can fail? This is what people notice first. Not the darkness itself, not the inconvenience, but the fragility, the terrible, unexpected fragility of everything they thought was permanent. The systems they trusted without thinking. The infrastructure they never questioned, all of it revealed as gossamer thin, held together by the continuous flow of electricity through copper wires. Remove that flow and society doesn't collapse immediately. It unravels, strand by strand, system by system, hour by hour. The blackout exposes a truth that modern life obscures. Civilization is not a state. It's a process, a continuous act of maintenance requiring constant energy input. Stop the energy and the process reverses. Order decays toward entropy. Complexity simplifies. The 21st century starts sliding backward through time. By the end of the first night, people understand this in their bones. They feel it in the heat and the darkness and the silence. They taste it in the water they hoarded and the food they're rationing. They see it in their neighbors' eyes and their own reflections in darkened windows. The world didn't end at 8:47 p.m., but the world they knew did. The world they inhabit now is older, harder, more honest about what survival actually requires. They're learning what humans always knew before electricity made them forget. That comfort is temporary. That security is an illusion. That darkness is patient and always waiting. The lights will come back on, eventually, or they won't. Either way, nothing will ever feel the same. Because the first thing people notice once the initial shock fades is not what they've lost. It's what they never really had: control, certainty,